that's a lovely accent you got there. Dudak? Golden Meadow? Well, good day, Sha. Let's put another tomato in the gumbo. Tomato in the gumbo.
And we're here live at the One More Round studio. Casey Gisclair here with Damien St. Pierre. We're doing a little test run here. We're going to be doing some podcasting here in the next couple of weeks. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, especially in the world of fighting. We're going to talk some boxing, some wrestling, some NBA draft. And that's going to be kind of the MO of what we're going to be doing. We're just talking a little bit of everything, getting a lot of different topics covered. But Damien, to bring you in here, the big news around wrestling is Money in the Bank was last night. Jinder Mahal was not in the main event of that card, but he ended up getting the title victory, beating Randy Orton. Were you a little bit surprised that he got the pin over Orton? I was not surprised that he won or that he retained his title. A little bit surprised that he did get a pinfall victory over Orton, though.
I wasn't very surprised at all, especially with the way it happened on Thursday night. They announced that they would pretty much have legends roll in the first row of in the crowd with Cowboy Bob, Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter. So I kind of figured that they would have something to do with the match, and then you got the two goons on the outside, and I knew they would have a big impact in the match. I kind of messed up. I don't really read internet reports, or I try not to look at the odds on the matches, and I messed up on Sunday.
Yeah.
I did have a look at it. It was Father's Day. I probably had a few too many to not look at it, and I was kind of disappointed in knowing what was going on, because that's why I watch wrestling, just to be able to kind of zone out. But so I wasn't surprised if that was the question. I really do not like the way they are evolving Mahal's character, and I'm the biggest Jinder Mahal fan in the world. It's very stale to me right now. He's big. He's the modern day Maharaja, and that is repeated over and over and over and over. I don't know what you getting out of that whole thing. He needs to evolve. I think he has the ability to do something special. I just think he needs to evolve right now.
Couple of things, and the first is, I mean, you've done a little bit of this stuff, being in locker rooms and everything like that. Who's leaking this stuff to Vegas, that they are getting the odds right every single match? Because you're right, it's a cheat code. You could go on the internet and see who's going to win every match of a pay-per-view. Who do you think's leaking that stuff out?
Somebody that they obviously trust, and somebody that's in the inner circle of the McMahon family. It's interesting because they never get it wrong.
Yeah, never.
I was a couple matches I was surprised who was going to win, and it was a DQ. I don't remember exactly what match it was on the card, but I was like, no way this guy's going to win. But it ended up being a disqualification. They got it right no matter what. They didn't have the odds of what it was. They didn't have specifically saying this was going to be a pinfall or whatever. But listen, Vegas is what it is for a reason. They don't get stuff wrong. That's why they're still there.
And to answer your question about Mahal, I agree. I think that if you're going to make this transition and this move to have a heel Middle Eastern wrestler, you've got to maybe kind of push this a little bit further down the road than they are now. I understand it's not exactly a good political time to be making that stance or making that move, but they brought this onto themselves, and I just feel like Mahal's a little bit in between. I would like to see him go a little bit further out into left field and sort of embrace being a hated heel, so to speak.
I think he has what it takes. He has the facial expressions of a big-time heel. He has he obviously has the physique of a world champion. He's got it all. They just need to evolve that character a little more. I think the whole SmackDown product is getting a little stale. I think they did not a very good job last night bringing in Mike Bennett from Ring of Honor. I don't think that was a very good debut at all. I think that was pretty boring. Now
it was awkward.
Yeah, it was just at the wrong time, I think. It's just weird, man. It's just a weird time for SmackDown.
Yeah, it was definitely an awkward debut. I agree with that. I'm a little more excited about Mike Bennett just because I think he's going to bring something to that roster. I think he's a pretty good heel. But when we're talking about Money in the Bank pay-per-view here, we got to talk about the two Money in the Bank matches. We'll start with the women's match, and I'm not a big fan of women's wrestling, but for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, the first one to not exactly be won by a woman, so to speak. I thought that was an interesting swerve. I don't know if I liked it, didn't like it. Shout out to James Ellsworth, who's been on the radio with us before. But he always seems to find a way to make something happen. I thought that was interesting, to say the least.
That guy has given us more credibility on the radio than any other guest. No offense to anyone that's been on our show before, but we've never had somebody that's going to grab the Money in the Bank case. That was probably the best ending that I could have hoped for. Again, my fault. Read the odds, knew that Carmelo was going to take it home. Didn't know it was going to happen in that fashion. But look, you're talking about character evolving. Where has James Ellsworth come from into what he is now? He's on borderline of being a complete joke, but he accepts that role, and that's what's awesome about him.
In 6 months, 8 months, however long it's been from that first night when he was taking on Strowman to where he is now, it's unbelievable. And to think the guy was wrestling indies, and when we first had him on, he was talking about how he had wrestled and promoted his own small shows all over the country and just doing these different things. And now, whereas maybe 150 people would have recognized his face, now millions and millions of people around the world recognize that guy. It's unbelievable.
I think his gimmick now is a guy that hangs out at the Klondike mini store on the Burglar Rose Highway.
Yeah, it's something like that. He definitely, whatever it is, he plays that role very well. And talk a little bit about the men's match. Now, look, you talked about falling into the trap. I fell into the same exact trap as you, looking at the odds and not being surprised or swerved by this. But if you would have asked me a week ago who was going to win the men's match, I would have maybe said Shinsuke Nakamura or maybe even Sami Zayn, who they've been trying to push a little bit. I was a little bit surprised to see Corbin go that way, but at the end of the day, I thought it was a pretty good match, to be honest with you. I thought maybe it was one of the only good matches on the entire show.
Yeah, they went all at it, all 6 competitors, even though it was 5 most of the time. Was Corbin the right guy to win? In my opinion, absolutely not. I just don't think he has that it factor. He's big, he's strong, he can't talk, he can't wrestle. I just don't understand why they want to push him when they continually want to push people that the fans couldn't care less about. You got Nakamura. I don't think he's ready yet, but he's definitely on the verge. Styles would have been an awesome pick. Owens obviously would have been a good selection. Just they want to keep shoving stuff down the fans' throats that they just don't care about, and eventually it'll bite them in the rear end.
Side note here, and this is a little bit going off on a tangent, but I'm going to bring it up as I know you agree with me. Brock Lesnar's not a full-time guy, so you're paying him all this money, and he's going to make part-time appearances, and I get that. You're paying Paul Heyman a full-time salary, but he's only there part-time as the only client, so to speak, that he has right now is Brock Lesnar. Damien, why in the hell is Paul Heyman not speaking for Shinsuke Nakamura right now? Shinsuke has everything except the voice. This is a perfect marriage. It seems like it just makes too much sense.
I agree. Every top heel that can't talk, I think, should be paired with Paul Heyman just because I think that's the right thing to do. Nakamura has the style, the fan-friendly style right now. They're going to keep him on top as a big-time face, but he could have easily come in as a foreign assassin, kind of Rusev type of heel, but just been a little bit more deadly, I think. I really like where they're going with him right now. Last night, I was talking to our buddy Coach Colley earlier because he's a big-time wrestling fan, and we were talking before practice today. And I said, man, the coolest thing about the whole pay-per-view was not even a match. It was Nakamura coming back, them playing 10 seconds of his music, and then the fans just keep going with the music.
That is awesome.
That was awesome. To me, that was the best part of the pay-per-view, and matches included.
So I guess, the last question here about wrestling, we were going to make it to about 10, 12 minutes of wrestling talk, which is coincidentally enough all you have to watch of Raw on any given night if you DVR it. But who is Corbin now going to cash in on? Because I don't think he's going to cash in on Jinder Mahal. That'd be, kind of an awkward heel versus heel thing. Who's he going to eventually cash in on? And I guess maybe a side question off of that is he actually going to win the championship once he cashes in?
I really think they're not evolving Mahal due to Cena coming back, him sometime around that July 4th mark beating Mahal in the USA versus wherever India, whatever he's from.
Oh, I hope that doesn't happen.
That'll be the big time record that he'll win the championship for the 17th. Is that right?
16th, I think that, yeah.
Whatever. Somebody email us and let us know what that is. I think he'll come there. I don't think Corbin ended up cashing on Cena because you got the heel face back, kind of where wrestling needs to be. A Corbin Mahal match, that's not anything good for anybody.
Oh man, I'm.
What do you think about Cena coming back? That's just kind of setting itself up, right?
I could see it happening. The only thing that maybe is a little bit concerning to me is all these reports that, as our producer here, Mello, is saying that we can't see him right now. I think that the only concern is all these reports that Cena's going to be a two-show guy. Are they going to bring the belt back onto Raw, and how is that going to be? That's a little bit awkward. But I don't know. I could definitely see the path that is being paved, but the whole free agent thing kind of creeps me out a little bit in regards to the title.
Well, I can tell you one thing, one spinoff that I hope we get to see, it will be AJ Styles and Nakamura feud, just strictly as a wrestling fan, and just you want to see good match. That's gonna be some fun.
No doubt about it. So we're gonna pin the wrestling talk a little bit, shift to a different ring sport. We're gonna talk some boxing now. As everybody's buzzing about it, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor have finally signed the deal. They're going to be fighting in August later this summer. They're going to be locking horns. I remember you and I being in a radio studio whenever the news of this maybe happening first came out. You and I both sort of laughed and said, man, this will never happen. This is just something to keep Floyd Mayweather in the news. He's retired. He's not going to fight Conor McGregor. UFC's not going to let this happen. But lo and behold, they found a way to make it work. And I guess what are your initial thoughts as now it looks like one of the top guys in MMA is going to be taking on probably boxing's top guy in the boxing ring?
Okay, so it's no secret that we're just getting this podcast started. Our equipment is a little rough right now. We don't have multiple mics, so you and I are a little close together. I think this is probably about the length the closest that McGregor would get to Floyd Mayweather in a boxing ring. This will not be a competitive fight unless Floyd wants it to be. What I would do personally, and look, I'm not Floyd Mayweather, nor will I ever be Floyd Mayweather, but for the first 3 rounds, if I was Floyd Mayweather, I would not throw a single punch and make Conor McGregor look like a complete idiot for wanting to get in the ring with me. And then by the time the 4th round comes and he's about to pass out, I would then go for the kill. It will not be competitive. McGregor has 0 place in a boxing ring, just as Mayweather would have in an MMA cage or whatever they fight in. It's money. It's a money grab, and God bless them for being able to put themselves in that position to be able to make the money that they're going to make for that night.
Stephen A. Smith said that Floyd is not, he told promoters leading up to the fight that he does not fight anymore unless if he gets at least $100 million. So you'd have to think Floyd is getting that, or probably a little north of that when you add pay-per-view buys and all that other good stuff. What do you think the split for this is going to be? Because Mayweather has leverage in that he could get 80, 90, $100 million. Hey, you could go fight Pacquiao again. He could fight Canelo Alvarez or whatever. He has other options. McGregor, this is the only way he could get this type of money. What do you think the split for this is going to be?
The fact that Mayweather does not have to do anything makes me think it's probably a 90-10 split. I really think it's that much, and I'd really like to find that information out. Now, I'm going to bounce a question back off to you. Being the money is going to be that high, which you just quoted, what would Casey Gisclair pay for a Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor pay-per-view?
Oh, man, what would I pay?
What would you pay, and then what do you think the general public is going to have to pay?
It's going to be a $100 fight. I mean, if Floyd and Pacquiao was $100, this is going to be $100, because I think this is going to sell more because for some reason folks have the idea that this is going to be a good fight, which I don't think it will be. What I would pay, I don't know, man. I'm of the belief that I like to watch MMA guys get humbled a little bit, especially MMA social media. So I would probably pay $50-$60 and be willing to. I would actually buy this one. I'm kind of a cheap guy, but I would actually buy this one.
Okay. Well, I'm showing up to your house.
Okay. So, along sort of the same lines here, the only argument MMA guys tend to think, and they tend to say that McGregor's outmatched in this, but that he could land that one shot and that he could change the entire fight and that he could hurt Floyd Mayweather. We got it written up here. What percentage chance does Conor have of actually landing the dream shot and doing the impossible?
You ever watched Animal House?
Yeah.
When the principal comes in and says 0.0. That's what I figure right now.
So there's no chance that you don't think he could hurt him? Even if he hit him flush, do you think he could even hurt him?
Obviously, if a grown man hits another grown man in the face, yeah, it could possibly happen. But I just don't think that he has the ability or the skill to be able to get that. That was my brain farts back. I read it maybe have been one of those Facebook spoof articles, but there's something in the contract that says if McGregor knees or kicks Mayweather,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a story of a few years ago. There was a Louisiana State light heavyweight championship fight in Houma, Louisiana, with Justin Verdon taking on Ricky Falls, both friends of mine, so I could speak about it. Justin was obviously the better boxer in the match, but Ricky drew a ton of fans and a lot of money, so they brought him in. He had a decent boxing record.
Sure.
Justin actually trained with us at the time. We put him through training camp and with Coach Kennedy McKinney. He had a great training camp. He was ready, and he had Ricky on the end of that jab for the first 2 rounds, and then Ricky Falls just kind of got aggravated and ate an uppercut, grabbed the back of Justin's head, and kneed him straight to the face. And then obviously disqualification after that, but I could see that happen.
I can too.
I'm really glad Mayweather put that in the contract if it is really in there. I think that's something that could happen. Is it pure instinct?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. And I told one of my buddies this the other day is I see this going one of two ways. I see Mayweather knocking him out, or McGregor getting disqualified. I don't see any third option. I don't see any other way to go. But I could see him trying to throw an elbow or whatever it may be, because when you're in that that line of fire, you're going to revert to what you know. This guy doesn't know boxing. That's just not what he's accustomed to, and he also kind of has a little bit of a short temper, and he's kind of swayed by the emotion in the crowd and everything like that. I could see potentially maybe a dirty ending to this fight. I hope that that's not the case. But I could maybe see that happening. I think you're right.
I could see some stuff going down at the weigh-in or press conference before as well, especially if the pre-pay-per-view buys or the ticket numbers are down, which I don't see that. I could see some orchestration happening at the press conference and make sure that those tickets get sold.
So very quickly before we switch to a little bit of NBA talk, I guess, what round? I mean, I know we kind of both agree he's going to probably put him down. What round do you think?
This is just kind of off the top of my head. I'm gonna go 4, just because I think Mayweather's gonna kind of bring him into deep waters and drown him.
Yeah, I think that would be about accurate. And one of the that fight, we've got a lot of time to spew on that one. And then as we kind of evolve here, we're gonna maybe get some boxers and maybe even some MMA guys to talk about the challenges that are gonna be faced by both of these guys as they prepare for this fight. But NBA draft is more current. That's gonna be this week. Of course, the number 1 pick has been traded. The 76ers now own that pick. The Boston Celtics moved back to number 3, got an additional pick in a later draft. Rapid fire, I'm going to throw it at you. Who's going to be the first pick in the draft? Who's Philly wants?
Tell you the truth, I have no idea.
It's going to be Markelle Fultz, but I guess...
Listen, I've watched, now that you say that, I've watched, today I watched the De'Aaron Fox interview. He's kind of awkward, Ball's kind of awkward. The kid from Washington, as you just said, he's a scorer. I think that's something that Philly needs, just some guards to go along with all the big men that they have. They did a great job maneuvering where they needed to be.
Sure.
Again, and their future is all of a sudden pretty bright.
Is there a concern? I would like my guy that I'm building my team around to win more than 9 games in college, and Washington was 9-22. A lot of their games are not competitive. If I put James Harden on a Pac-12 team, I'd like to think James Harden would win more than 9 games. Fultz didn't do that. Washington was not even close in a lot of the games. They were not competitive. So, as a coach, the Pac-12 is a really good conference, but I don't want my star player getting beat by 30 and 40 points, regardless of who his teammates are, because I think the truly elite players would be able to overcome that. Does that scare you a little bit? It scares me about Fultz. I'm not going to lie.
It kind of brings up the whole small school quarterback that jumps into the first part of the first round in the NFL draft. A lot of it goes into scouting and combine and off-season stuff. Not everything is in that realm of the regular season, especially in the not very much watched Pac-12.
Yeah, and looking at the number 2 pick now, I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit. What do you think about LeVar Ball? Would that worry you a little bit? We've seen what parents could do to basketball, and any team that we've coached with, against, whatever it may be. Sometimes that could be an issue. We've never seen it in the NBA before. I mean, is this something that you think is going to really bleed into professional basketball?
This guy is a 100% clown. From the way he walks, the way he carries himself, to what he sells. If this dude puts on a makeup and a red nose, he would fit in perfectly in a circus. That is most basketball. I'm not a big fan. I think his son can play. I think he's a big-time shooter. I think he can score at will. His defense kind of lacks, but to bring that baggage of a kid that's maybe not, mature or his game's not that complete, to bring that baggage of a dad that's going to be there the entire time. I think the Lakers did a good job of the last workout and not letting him, the dad, around. I think they maybe find out who the kid is.
You would think that this is where they want to be. They have been very open. We're only going to work out for the Lakers. We want to go to the Lakers. And LeVar, which I think this is hilarious, LeVar has gone so far as to say he hopes Lonzo gets picked by the Lakers. Then he hopes his other two sons go undrafted so the Lakers could sign each of them as undrafted free agents. As stupid as that may sound, you would think that if they get what they want at the end of the day, that they would respect Magic Johnson and they would respect the process and they would pipe down a little bit. But then again, this guy's really going all the way out to left field to a degree that we've never seen anyone go before. I'm intrigued. I'm not overly intrigued by this year's NBA draft class, but I am very curious to see how Lonzo Ball's career goes.
He's always going to be in the shadow from his dad because his dad's never going to shut up. I think that's the whole thing, but he's an LA guy, and it's a perfect match. The Lakers are probably searching for something to sell a little bit more tickets. That may be the perfect landing spot.
There we go. And sort of the last topic here before we kind of put a bow on it. It's been a very good debut here in the One More Round studio. Casey with Damien, and we got my man Mello, shout out, pushing the buttons, getting us on and off the air. There are these reports that Paul George has told the Indiana Pacers, he has one more year left on his deal, he's told them he's not re-signing. He is going somewhere else at the end of the next season if he's not traded. The Pacers have taken that and said, you know what? If we're losing you, we're going to try to get something for you, which is an understandable thing to do. The sexy report out of national media is that the Cavaliers are trying to trade for Paul George. They don't have very many assets. So my question to you would be, would they trade or should they trade Kevin Love for 1 year of Paul George? Would you do that if you were a general manager?
They probably should have done that last season. And I don't know if that was in talks last season. From what I understand, it was. Kevin Love brings a certain dynamic to the game that I think a lot of other players at that level do bring. If they could get away with sneaking that trade in, I don't think that would be a bad deal at all. I think George obviously brings more athleticism. Kevin Love more in the rebounding end. But the Cavs, I believe, this offseason will be pretty desperate to make a move to be able to compete with the Warriors. I think that finals was pretty embarrassing for the majority of the time. And I really think that they're going to make a move, and it's going to be a crucial time for them, because if they make the wrong move, it could set them back a little bit long, because LeBron obviously is not getting any younger. He's a heck of a player, but he's just, in my opinion, he's not built to, you can't beat the Warriors right now.
Here's the thing, Kevin Love rebounds the ball well. He doesn't defend the ball very well. And with him in their current form, they don't make the Warriors miss. So there's no reason for him to be there to rebound the basketball. So I think that a lot of the thing that really hurt the Cavaliers in the finals was LeBron had to take the matchup of guarding Kevin Durant, and it wore him out offensively. He was very fatigued at the end of games. He didn't play well in the fourth quarter in a lot of games. Where you get Paul George, you could say, hey, PG, go and guard Durant, and then it'll allow LeBron to take possessions off and allow him to have a little more juice at the end of games. And I think that would make for a better series. And if I'm at the Cavaliers right now, and I know I got one more year of LeBron James, and I just fired the general manager today, who he said in the press that he wanted an extension for, I'm worried about this guy leaving my city again. If things don't go right next year, I would absolutely get Paul George and try to make it work because I know they can't beat the Warriors with their current roster. I would try to do something different to see how it shakes out.
And look, that makes total sense. LeBron is a big time me guy, and for him to be in the spotlight again in his free agency, there's no doubt in my mind that he would take that opportunity just to get the spotlight back on him, especially if he loses again in the finals.
There's no doubt about it. So we've had a good time here. We've been on the air for close to a half hour now. So much for a 10-minute segment, which we planned on doing when we got here. But we've got a lot of different things planned. We're going to be covering some local prep sports pretty heavily here. We're going to be doing a lot of really good things. So just keep an eye out for what's ahead. We're getting one more round studio. We're going to get some specifics to you guys for Damien St. Pierre and Mello pressing the buttons in case he just We're going to sign off. You guys stay dry. There's some bad weather coming. Take it easy, guys. Good night.